when you know that that reporter has to answer to an editor who is going to say, what are you talking about? And has to answer to a structure above him that's going to say, you lied on that last piece, you're fired. Well, you're going to tend to believe those people more.
Terry Irving, welcome very much to TV News, Insights and Ideas for the Future. You have been a long-time ABC News producer and producer at other network and television stations, and you have a varied career both in broadcasting and in digital media. If I were to ask you, as I am, how would you briefly describe the state of TV news today?
Well, like every other industry today, it is in a state of massive change. What I see is that the network television news may disappear because it's not when there was only three shows, you needed to have, but when there's 1,000 shows and 5 of them are concentrating solely on news, why do you need to break into your sitcoms and dramas and cop shows to show the news? And I have to say that my feeling is that the network news just doesn't seem interested. It is disappearing. I drove around the other night, and the building that was built just 20 years ago exclusively for news is gone. I mean, it's just a cubicle farm now. The part of it, it's changing. It's not going away. There's going to be news. There's going to be good, responsible reporting. But, it's just going to change massively. I mean, you can do a report with virtually no equipment, no people from anywhere. There's some frightening software that can actually pick out the pictures and edit a piece for you, and add a synthesized voice. If that's not frightening, I don't know what is. The New Washington Post is using software that actually writes the stories.
But in this environment today, in which television news now finds itself in the midst of an amazingly intense competition, the internet being the most competitive place on earth, plus the earlier advent of cable television, do you think that TV news is holding its own, not just in audience, which we know there's been a spike in the Trump era, but in terms of relevancy and trust and the things that you as a producer used to rely on and value?
Yes. Despite the accusations that are being thrown around, the fact is that when people really want to know what happened, they generally go to either a network broadcast or one of the 3 major cable broadcasts. Because, one of them, it's funny, anyone can do business on the internet, but the problem with that has always been in every business that the most important thing is branding. I can show up and say I'm, Dirty Politics USA and start putting up anything I want to, but if you want to know the news, you've got, whether it's ABC or New York Times Television or the BBC or the Herald Tribune or whatever, or Breitbart, if that's the way you're going, you need to know the brand. You need to know, you want to know, are these guys paying attention? Are they being edited? Which is unbelievably important. And so, I think it's going to survive. Network may not survive. I suspect it won't. I think the MSNBC-NBC combination is the way it'll go, where you have a newscast running continuously and you put it on your main feed when you need it.
But you think that the large news organizations that have been TV up to this point can remain trusted and relevant?
Oh yeah, I mean, the fact is that we hear a lot from the fringe element, that says it's fake news and blah blah blah. Actually, there was a fascinating story in Wired about the fact of a guy in Macedonia who was writing the fake news. I mean, he was just writing fake news, and he was making thousands of dollars in a place where the average income, the yearly income, is $600. Most people want to be able to trust what they're reading, hearing, seeing, and the only way to do that is to go into an operation that's big enough and has a running record that will inspire trust. That's at least my feeling. I mean, my feeling is, I wrote this up in Quora a couple of times, you can't get your news from one place. You have to go to 5, 10, 15 different places, depending on what, more duration magazine pieces as opposed to spot news pieces, longer pieces, more, you have to go to a number of places and sort of sift it out for yourself. But when you know that reporter has to answer to an editor who is going to say, what are you talking about? And has to answer to a structure above him that's going to say, you lied on that last piece, you're fired. Well, you're going to tend to believe those people more. I mean, that comes from pride in our corporate age. This is another matter, something I've been running into working on a book. But in the beginning, the people that set up these television operations and the news operations, they were owned by single people or owned by families, and those people had the willingness to put in the money, and B, a tremendous pride in their product. I think most journalists want to get it right, but it's more likely to be right when there's a structure behind it. I mean, I just looked at the spikes, which are up. New York Times is innovating like crazy. I mean, 360 virtual realities in Syria. I mean, just nuts. ABC. We used to go on the air. I used to be doing cable, and ABC would go on the air and have 6 million people. I mean, the minute you went on the air, 6 million people were watching you. I mean, and they had the structure to get it right. It has been hacked away in recent years, but that's still, I think, the main thing is that there's a quote from the New York Times that said, we want to raise enough money to staff 174 correspondents around the world. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what we need. That's what everybody in the end goes to. You can't get all your information from fringe magazines and fringe online sites and clickbait and all the rest of it. You eventually go to a responsible organization, I think. And there's money in it. CNN, all the time that Roger Ailes was lying about how much Fox was beating CNN, which Fox is not a news station, Fox is talk television. But CNN has something like 68 other operations around the world. Headline news is running, 8-hour shifts, 24 hours a day to different countries. They were, when I left, everybody was making, not when I left, but afterwards, everybody was making fun of them, and the fact was that they were holding up Time Warner. I mean, that, they were the mainstay money source for Time Warner. So a lot of that is throwing mud around, trying to make the other person look bad.
Terry, thank you very much for your contributions. Terry Irving, former ABC News correspondent and, producer, and producer at various other locations, including CNN. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Mike.
The issues are profound and urgent, solutions critical to a free society. If you believe that you can contribute insights and ideas for the future of video news, we'd like to hear from you. You might have the next big vision. Book your Skype interview by emailing me, MikeLeeNews@mac.com. MikeLeeNews@mac.com. TV News, Insights and Ideas is a not-for-profit project by Mike Lee. It is not limited to any one news organization. Newsmakers are also invited to submit insights and ideas. Bring your game.